Okay. Okay. Alright, hey guys. I am coming on here to do a live video. Oh, sorry, my son is hitting me. Anchor. Say hi. Okay, anyway. Hi guys. I am doing a live video about healing. I shared recently about God healing me of MS. And people are curious about how God did that, how I know that, and just my testimony. And there's many healing testimonies that I'm going to try to share them all and keep this video pretty short. But first, I'm going to tell you guys how God healed me of MS and what that looked like. So, a little backstory. You say hi. Sorry, he's distracting me. A little backstory. I was raised in the church. I went to Bible college. I went to Christian school my whole life. I believed that God could heal, that He is a healer, but I never believed that He always heals and that He wants to heal. And I honestly never really looked at scripture to see what He says. I just listened to what everybody else said. I just believed that why would He not heal us? So I will start with okay, so I've always been a very negative person, and honestly I like to be sick. I used to like to be sick because I enjoyed people's sympathy, I guess. I liked attention, and so when I was sick, people would cater to me. That sounds terrible, I know, but I'm just telling you like it is. I'm being as open and raw as I can. And so when I got pregnant with when I delivered my third child, maybe I was pregnant with her, the doctors told me, well, I started to have lots of problems. I got into a car accident because I blacked out at my job, and I hit a pole, and I was having blacking out spells all the time. I was having breathing problems. I couldn't walk straight. I started to fall. I would overheat. I would walk into a store with my kids, and I would just not be able to see. Like, I would lose my eyesight. And so I started going to a doctor, and I went to a doctor after doctor after doctor. They would diagnose me with all kinds of things that ended up not coming out as what I really had. And finally, they pinpointed it as MS. And my doctors told me to stop having children. They told me that I couldn't have more children. And they told me I had a hole in my heart. I had an MRI, and I had lots of mini strokes. So I guess my blackout spells were probably mini strokes. I found out that it was caused from my birth control. I could have sued them. I, of course, decided not to. But anyway, so I got pregnant with my fourth baby. And I still had so many doctor's appointments. I was in and out of the doctor. I had surgery on my heart. I just, honestly, the doctors never really had answers. I tried MS medication. It didn't work at all. I really felt better being pregnant, and they told me that that is how it would be. That I couldn't handle the heat. I would pass out in the heat. I'm trying to think if I have all of the symptoms listed. So, obviously, that was part of the reason my husband didn't want to have more children, and why we always fought about it, because I had so many health issues. And so God had been telling me for years He wanted me to quit my job and stay home and raise my kids. But we had a house, we had a payment, we had a car, we had to provide for the kids, we had to pay for daycare, we had to, like, I couldn't afford it. It would have been impossible for me to quit my job and stay home with my kids. But I really believe that God was telling me, if you will just quit your job, then I will heal you. And at this time, I wasn't like really reading the Bible fully. I was reading devotions. I had a relationship with God, but I didn't know fully what God says in his word about healing. So before I quit my job, I was praying, and God told me to stop going to the doctor, to just trust him, to leave it in his hands, to not have surgery, and to stop seeing all doctors. Now, I am not against doctors at all. They literally couldn't help me anymore. They had tried everything. They had all these more tests lined up for me. My arms look like pin cushions to this day because I've been poked so many times. So one day, my husband gets fired from his job. We worked at the same company. He was not fired for a legitimate thing. It was ridiculous, but nevertheless, he got fired. So I was the only one left with a job. We had 2 houses at this time. We had a brand new car, and I was almost due with my 4th baby. And God told me, quit your job. We had just moved into a brand new home. So I came home, told my husband, God's been telling me forever that if he wants me to stay home, and he wants me to do it not in my strength. If I keep waiting on him to open the door for me to stay home, then I'm not really having any faith. If I wait on him to decide, or on him to give my husband a $100,000 job or greater for me to quit my job, then God gets no glory, and I exercise no faith. And we could always come back and say, we did that because Mandre is just good at what he does. So, of course, God asked me at the most absolutely impossible time. My husband had no job, and he wants me to quit mine. And I'm about to give birth to our 4th child. Well, I tell my husband, and he weirdly was reluctant, but agreed that that was the right thing to do. So I quit my job. And that, I believe, that is when me and my husband's faith took off, because God paid every bill. We were never late. God was just so faithful. He showed us that he's our provider, and he showed us that he's our healer, because the second I quit my job and I just obeyed him and I came home, to this day, and you can believe me or not, you can think I'm crazy, whatever you want to believe, I'm just giving you my true story. I'm giving you what I've experienced, and I was healed completely. I have not had a symptom since the day I quit my job. And a lot of people don't believe me. I have proof. I have medical proof to show you that I was healed and that I was sick and that I've had all these surgeries, and I continue to just feel better and better. I haven't had a blackout spell. I haven't had any of these issues that I had before. I actually feel so much better than I ever did before I even started having kids. And I'm on child number 9. Okay, so that was my MS testimony. Then God started to show me, I started to read his word, because when God shows you he is everything in your life, he's your provider, then you really want to know him more, and you want to know what his word says, because if he comes back true, if his word is proven true, you want to live for him, and you want to do everything he says, and you want to know how else you can live the way he's called you to live. So me and my husband started to read the Bible in a year. We're on our 3rd or 4th year, something like that, and we started to see that he never denied healing to anybody in the Bible. And that he always says, by your faith you are healed. Now, I understand there are lots of beliefs on this. A lot of people don't believe that he wants to heal you all the time, that it's all up to his will. I'm simply telling you what I believe based on what I have lived, and what I believe based on what I've read. You can have a different belief, and that is totally fine. I have no problem with that. I'm just sharing my testimonies with you. And there are some people that don't believe he heals anymore. And that's up to you to believe what you want. I am just sharing what God has shown me and how he's proven it to me. So I'll just share. Okay, so I started a Bible study, and we started to pray healing. We started to exercise our faith. We started to walk in it, because every time that God healed somebody, he asked them to do something, like get up, pick up their mat, walk, sit up, walk out. He always asked them to exercise or to have a part in the healing. And so they had to show they believed that they were healed, either by going to a physician or telling somebody or not telling somebody or getting up. There was always something, a part, washing off in the river. There was always a part they had to play. So I do believe that faith and belief are our part. And so in our Bible study that we have seen, I haven't written down the number, but I will say I feel like it's around 100 healings in our families and in our group, from eczema to broken bones to babies, food allergies, vaccine injuries. God has healed so many things in our group, to like little things, paper cuts. I can't think of the word. Nope. Okay. Well, little things, but I can't think of what they're called. Anyway, like last week, we had a girl healed of eczema from birth. We had a breastfeeding mother healed of a sore on her breast. And I'm talking about immediately. I'm not talking about with medication. I'm not talking about with going to the doctor or just waiting it out or letting it heal on its own. I'm talking about immediately after prayer. Okay, so I'm going to share just 2 more testimonies. I have a whole lot, but I'm going to share 2 more testimonies of God's healing. So a lot of you know the story of Answer, and I'm just going to share it live because I have a lot of new people that haven't heard it. So 2.5 years ago, I was pregnant with our 7th child. At 11 weeks, I was driving to soccer practice, and I was 11 weeks pregnant. I was driving to soccer practice for my daughter, and I look down, and I'm sitting in a pool of blood. I've had a miscarriage, but nothing like this. And so when I got up, there was just blood everywhere. I called the doctor, and the doctor said, "You're having a miscarriage. Don't come in. We can't stop it. We can't help you. It's already happened. Go home, deliver your baby, and then bring the baby to us tomorrow and we'll dispose of it." And he was super nice. I'm not bashing the doctor. He was so nice, and he's right. There's nothing they can do. But I was devastated. So I turn around, I go home, and I say, "No. I've been learning about healing. God's been showing me his word and his will. He's been showing me who he is. He is a man of his word, and he does not fail. And God gave me this child. God had already given me a name. He gave me the name Answer 2 weeks before this happened. And I didn't know why I thought that was just a cool name. So I go home and I sit in the bath and I prayed for probably 4 or 5 hours. I prayed until I believed. No fear, 100% belief that my baby was fine, I was not miscarrying, and I was going to carry this baby and deliver this baby. So I got out of the bath after praying forever because I believed that I had to believe that that was true. I read scriptures, I prayed, I just sat in his presence. I went to bed confident that that was true. I had a sonogram the next day just for them to, they wanted to schedule it to confirm that the baby was still alive, and they saw no signs of anything happening. So I was ecstatic. I had a sonogram a week later, and all of a sudden I had a subchorionic hemorrhage, and they said that I would still miscarry my baby. But I refused to accept that. I said, "God, you are my healer. You've saved this baby so far. I trust you. I believe in you." And we have a church group every Friday night, and so God told me to pray complete healing over my body. The doctor had given me pills to take, told me to stop doing photography, told me to quit being intimate with my husband, and God said, "I want you to pray healing Friday night with your group of people. They're going to lay hands on you, get all doubt out of the room, exercise the complete faith healing, and then walk it. And so what that meant was, don't take any medication, don't slow your life down. In fact, live it more fully, because I am going to heal you. So we prayed healing, and this was the hardest faith healing journey I've ever walked in. I will tell you, it was not easy. I had moments of fear. I had random people coming up to me saying, oh, my sister had a subchorionic hemorrhage and her baby died. All the time. Literally, if I looked outside of my Bible, if I looked up and I looked around at what was around me, what people were saying to me, what people were living, what like physical life shows you and tells you, there was no way that God was going to save my baby. But God said, I want you to stay focused on me and trust me. So I continued to have sonograms, and I saw like it got better, but it never fully went away. And God told me, I'm not going to show you a complete healing. I want you to trust me when you don't see it, because faith is not by sight. And so that was the hardest thing I had to do, was say, okay, God, I trust you, even though I don't see what you're saying that you've done. So at 24 weeks, I went into labor. I prayed, God stopped the labor. But then I eventually had to be hospitalized because my body just kept going into labor. And so I was in the hospital for 4 to 5 weeks. And then one day they just couldn't stop labor. And I gave birth to my baby, whose name was Answer. And she was born perfect. She was born breathing. She was born bigger than a 29-weeker. She was 3 pounds, 4 ounces. They did their protocol, took her to the NICU, and they told me, I was devastated, to be honest, that I didn't get to go to 40 weeks. I was devastated that I had to deliver her at 29 weeks. That was hard on me. But God showed me how faithful he was in what I wanted, but rather what he wanted. And say hi, Anchor. So anyway, they told me my baby would be in the NICU for the rest of her 11 weeks. That would be the minimum time that she would have to be in the NICU. And that I've never not brought a baby home. That was torture to me. I ended up having like hyperventilating, and I was tested. I had postpartum for a little bit because I didn't get to see my baby. But as I was leaving the hospital, I was getting ready, and I'm like, God, this is not what I expected, because when I was in the hospital, I had a mountaintop experience with God, and God had given me the number 40. Bubby. Hold on, I'm sorry. Okay, let me stand up. Okay. God had given me the number 40 in the hospital, so I thought that meant 40 weeks. But as I was getting ready to leave, and I was just getting all my stuff together, God said 40 days in the NICU. And I'm like, I can do that. I can do 40 days in the NICU. But they told me 11 weeks, which is like 77 days. So you're telling me that they're going to release her over half, like less than halfway, more than half, I don't know, you know what I mean. They're seriously going to release her in 40 days. That just sounds crazy. So I said, okay, God, I believe you. I trust you. And I stood strong to that promise that he had given me. Okay, so Answer's in the NICU. She is the first baby to breastfeed at, I believe she breastfed at 31 weeks. And they had never seen a baby that small breastfeed that early in that NICU. So she just like exceeded everyone's expectation constantly. She was always going above and beyond, like God was obviously at work in her life. So day 38 rolls around, and me and my husband go to see Answer, and I would go every, like, every day, once a day, to breastfeed her. Which, by the way, I've never been able to breastfeed a baby. She was my first baby that I could breastfeed. So that's another huge testimony from God. And she's like, it doesn't even make any sense, but you know, God doesn't make sense. So I go on day 38 with my husband, and the doctor says, I'm sorry, but she is not doing as well as we thought. She's gonna need another few weeks in the NICU. And I was crushed. I said, God, you promised me 40 days. We only have 2 days left. He told me a few more weeks. So I concluded, maybe I can't hear God. Maybe that's not what he told me. Well, the next day, I came in late to breastfeed her. And they said, did you hear the news? And I was like, no, I've been doing photography, photo shoots all day. I haven't heard. And they said she's going home tomorrow. Every time I tell the story, I cry, so I'm going to try not to cry. But answer was released on day 40 from the NICU. I'm serious, day 40. Like, her life is such a testimony. And then one more healing story. My son, around the time we were hearing about healing, and I think Answer was already born at this point. We were in the backyard, about to do our church group, and the basketball goal came crashing down on Andre's hand. And, well, he was hanging on the rim. He pulled the whole goal down, and it fell on his hand and crushed him, and he broke his the bone that goes right across the top of his hand. It was really bad. And God immediately said, I want you to pray healing over his bone. Now, that's the one thing that doesn't seem like God could do, is heal a bone. But I know he can do anything. He does the impossible. So we took him to the doctor, got him checked. They said, yes, this bone is crushed. It is broken. They put him in a splint, and they set him up with a casting appointment, I think like 4 days later. So God told me, I want you to fast. I want you to pray with your son. I want you to show him all my verses of healing. And I want you to pray for his bone to be healed so that he doesn't need a cast. Now, a lot of people mock me for this. They think I'm a terrible mom, that I abuse my kids because I have them exercise healing. I take them to every doctor's appointment. I don't abandon my kids. I don't force healing on them. I simply tell them what the Word of God says. I pray with them. And we let God do the work. If it comes back still broken, they're going to get a cast. We trust God, and we do what God, we only pray healing until we see it with the kids. It's different for me. But with my kids, I am not irresponsible. They go to all their appointments. So we fasted. We prayed healing over him. He had so much faith. The day he had his casting appointment, he took his splint off. And he said, Mom, I am fully healed. I said, okay. We took him to his casting appointment. And the doctor did another x-ray. And the doctor said, your son is Iron Man, because his bone is completely back together. You can't even tell he broke it. And he said, no, that is God. And like, once you've experienced God heal a broken bone in 4 days, you just don't go back. Like, there is no explanation for that. I have a before and an after x-ray. And so, yes, when we get hurt, we ask God for healing. We trust God for healing. We believe God for healing. So I just want to encourage you guys. God is a healer. And if you aren't sure, just go to Scripture. Look for a verse that says he doesn't, or he didn't, or he might not. Look for it. And if you find it, tell me, because I can't. A lot of people use Paul's thorn in his side as a physical ailment. I don't believe that. I believe it was a group of people attacking him, not something physical. But still, why would we use something that we aren't sure about, or we assume, to denounce what God's already said in the Word about how He is our healer? So I just wanted to encourage you. God heals. He is our great physician. He wants to heal you. We just have to believe that his word is true, that he's a man of his word. So I hope those testimonies encouraged you. If you were curious about the MS testimony, I hope that brought clarity. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm an open book. I love to share the things that God has done for our family and the many blessings that he's blessed us with. That is all. Anchor, say bye. Say bye. Bye.